Hey, Restores, Clark Brown, Restoration Advisors. I've got a really cool trick for you today. I'd hate to use the word trick because I'm not trying to trick anyone, but I want to talk to you about a model of an extreme customer service, customer experience process that we used to use. I was actually remarking on this with someone else, with a client yesterday, and I wrote down that this would be something that would, like, sometimes I wish I was recording my client calls because I would love everybody else to know what I'm talking about. So let me start by telling you that I look at the restoration industry and the way that we should be running our businesses a little different than other people. I am a independent minded person. I am one that believes that your customer is your customer and your focus should be on them. And you should probably be almost ignoring the carrier. So all that said, put an asterisk besides this experience, but this really applies to anything. Because I've run some companies that we were what I call retail restoration companies, which lead tech showed up, wrote the estimate, wrote this, wrote a ROM, a rough order of magnitude, put a scope together, sold the job to the customer, got the signature, did the work, and collected it all in one. They were commission technicians like lead techs that you've got every single day, but they worked on a different way that they were empowered to do their own. So what came into it a lot was how do you teach people who are in a technical position to have a sales minded approach. Now, I want to remind everyone that sales is not about convincing someone that they need something they don't. It's providing value and educating them on what you will do in return for X, for dollars or whatever. What happens if you do, what happens if you don't? One of the ways that we did that, and this was what we were talking about, is I'm going to use Mario. Mario was one of our guys in Washington, D.C. or in the DMV, Maryland area. Mario would respond. He was one of our better customer-oriented people, and he actually did a lot of work. He made well over $130,000 a year as a lead technician. Did all the work. Had a helper. He would respond to a lead that we got in. The phone would ring. Mr. Mrs. Homeowner had, a water damage or fire, whatever it was, and he would respond. And we charged for our inspections. We charged a diagnostics and inspection fee. It was, we changed it. It went from like $149 to, I think we originally got to $219. We all know that goes away once the customer signs the job, but we didn't do that for free because the value of what we did was for free. So Mario would show up, interact with the customer. I could go way on. I'm actually going to teach a class later this year about this retail model so that you can pull some of these things. But the presentation included about 20 different processes and things. But if that job was not signed up that day, if it was truly an estimate, if it was just an assessment of a non-emergency measure, let's say mold remediation. By the way, we did a lot of things on a mold inspection, which is if we saw visible mold, we would possibly create a little bit of containment. We had carpet shield. We had this real plastic, it was logoed with our company logo, but we would get like carpet shield, sticky paper or sticky poly, and cover that. And we would tell the customer while we did that. So we don't want that to continue to aerosolize. We don't want you and your family to continue to have that. All of a sudden it became more serious. But what I want to get to is what we did after we wrote an estimate or we sent a proposal into someone. Mario would go out to his truck in the parking lot before he signed, because you had to click that you finished this inspection, which told your next inspection would get an automatic trigger text or email, however they opted in, that Mario was on the way, probably 30 minutes or so. He would also call. But Mario would go sit in the truck, and every single truck, every single job file had a postcard that you could handwrite on. And it was part of the required process that our guys would sit and write a thank you from the parking lot, from the driveway. And it could not be a blanket, hey, thanks for the opportunity. Go Commanders. Hey, I saw that you loved the Orioles, or go Cowboys, or loved the gardenias. The view from your house was great. I hope we get to work together so I can hang out at your house a little bit more. These were the kinds of things they wrote. But he would write that out, nothing over the top, maybe 2 or 3, 4 sentences. It was already stamped, And his job was right away, or at the end of the day, if he had 2 or 3 of those, go by and mail them. That customer would get would get this postcard 2 days. Usually if it's local, it's 2 days, depending on the postal service that day. Hopefully 2 days, maybe 3 at the most, depending on how far out he drove from home base. So we had already told the customer that we're leaving you with this diagnostics, which was attached to a dollar amount for an estimated amount for what we saw. We obviously said if we found something else, we would let you know. But we told them we're going to give you a call in 3 days. And they usually set a reminder on his calendar and theirs that said, I've got a reminder here that I'm going to call you back on Tuesday or Friday or whatever it is. Now he has mailed a thank you card showing gratitude. And that's going to, maybe it's going to arrive a day before he makes the call. It's just going to pop up in the mail, and Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner is going to look and say, well, there's an email from that nice young gentleman, Mario, that came out. Because, by the way, he was already impressive. He already started this process of earning trust. Now you get a thank you. By the way, if you had 2 or 3 other people out there, bet that they didn't have a thank you card. You got nothing from them. And then the next day he gives them a call and says, hey, this is Mario. I told you I'd call you on Tuesday or Friday or whatever it was, and wanted to see if you had any questions, if you thought any more about the issue. Is it, have you resolved it? Have you made another decision or whatever it was? His closing rate was incredible. I want to remember Mario's was around 75% ish, give or take, obviously seasonal. He was kind of a specialist in mold, but he was just great at it. But they would, and he wasn't always, we weren't the cheapest. This company was a premier brand, but they said, you identified what we wanted. We had the mold, and you didn't talk about anything other than what we said was important to us, which was health, property, time away from our house, whatever. He focused on that. And then here comes the thank you card. Sometimes he would get a call because he wrote his number at the bottom. I'll be giving you a call soon, but if you want to call me before with any questions, here it is. They would call him and say, Mario, I had a question or two, but let's get on your schedule. And he's like, boom, let me see what my schedule is. And I'll call you back or text you right back. And I think I've got time. We can start in 2 days or tomorrow or whatever. And he goes, is that plastic still on the wall? And they said, yes, it's still there. He said, keep it there. I'll remove it when I come to the job. He got to work. Customer service. People have to trust you and they have to remember. They have to be made to feel special. If you like this model, go to restorationadvisors.com and join our academy. That will put you on our mailing list, which will let you know when I start teaching this class. We had a whole service standards line of things that we did on every single job. And every single time, as long as our guys did it. I mean, it was obviously, you've got to hold people accountable. We had secret shoppers. We would send people to claims that probably were never going to become jobs. We would end up paying the tech for their time, but we would want to see, did they follow the processes that were the most successful for them and for the team? And we would just coach up or coach out from that. But we're going to be teaching this model this year. But think about that. Anybody can do this. Just go find postcards, get some made with your team's picture on the front, put a stamp on them and give, it's an investment. But if you have that where you have first responders writing estimates, and just think about that nice little handwritten analog, and not an email, not a text, something that people have forgotten how to do, and it would mean a lot. So go to restorationadvisors.com, jump on our mailing list. That's really what I want you to do. I want you to kind of get into our universe where, we've got our podcast, our blog, our newsletters, emails to update you with what cool stuff we got going on. Ignore them if you want, but they're going to be nestled right into your email. It's not spam. It's not junk. If you think that there's one day there might be something that I want to send myself or my team to, jump on that list. And that's the first best thing I can get you to do, where we get to know each other. But think about that handwritten card. Coach your team how to write something personal. They may not be writers, and it might be sloppy handwriting. It doesn't matter. The fact that it's coming from the gentleman or the woman that came to their house means a lot, and no one else in your market is doing that. You want to be different? That's how you be different. Thanks, everyone. See you in the next one.